Hi, I'm Quỳnh. Now let me tell you a story named After 20 Years. The policeman on the beat moved up the avenue impressively. The time was barely 10 o'clock at night, but chilly gaps of green with a taste of rain in them had well nigh depeopled the street. Now and then, you might see the light of a cigar store or of an all-night lunch counter, but the majority of the doors belonged to business places that had long since been closed. When about midway of a certain block, the policeman suddenly slowed his walk. In the doorway of a darkening hardware store a man lingered, with an unlighted cigar in his mouth. As the policeman walked up to him, the man spoke up quickly. "It's all right, officer," he said. "I'm just waiting for a friend. It's an appointment made 20 years ago. Sound a little funny to you, doesn't it? Well, I'll explain if you like to make a certain it's all straight. About that long ago, there used to be a restaurant where his store stand, Big Zoe Brady Restaurant. Until 5 years ago," said the policeman. "It was torn down then." The man in the doorway struck a match and lit his cigar. The light showed a pale, squared-up face with keen eyes and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. 20 years ago tonight," said the man, "I dined here at the restaurant with Jimmy Wells, my best friend. He and I were raised here in New York, thus like two brothers together. I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. The next morning I was to start for the West to make my fortune. You couldn't have dragged Jimmy out of New York. He thought it was the only place on earth. Well, we agreed that night that we would meet here again, exactly 20 years from that date and time, no matter what our condition might be, or from what distance we might have to come. We thought that in 20 years each of us ought to have our destiny worked out, and our fortunate mate, whatever they were going to be." "That sounds pretty interesting," said the policeman. "It is really a long time between meets. Haven't you heard from your friends since you left?" "Well, yes, for a time we corresponded," said the other, "but after a year or two we lost track of each other. You see, the West is a pretty big proposition and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy will meet me here if he is alive, for he always was the truest, stanchest one in the world. He'll never forget. I came 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight, and it's worth it if my old partner turned up." The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch, the lid of it set with small diamonds. 3 minutes to 10, he announced. "It was exactly 10 o'clock when we parted here at the restaurant door. Did pretty well out west, didn't you?" asked the policeman. "You bet. I hope Jimmy has done half as well. He was a kind folder, though good fellow as he was. I have had to compete with some of the sharpest wits going to make ends meet. A man gets in rule in New York. It takes the wet to put a razor edge on him." The policeman threw his cup and took a step or two. "I'll be on my way. Hope the friend comes around all right. Going to call time on him sharp?" "I should say not," said the other. "I'll give him half an hour at least. If Jimmy is alive on earth, he'll be here by that time. So long, officer." "Good night, sir," said the policeman, passing on along his beat, trying doors as he went. In the door of the hardware store, the man who had come 1,000 miles to fill an appointment, uncertain almost to absurdity with a friend of his youth, smoked his cigar and still waited. About 20 minutes he waited, and then a tall man in a long overcoat with collar turned up to his ear hurried across from the opposite side of the street. He went directly to the waiting man. "Is that you, Bob?" he asked, doubtfully. "Is that you, Jimmy Wells?" cried the man in the door. "Bless my heart!" exclaimed my new arrival, grasping both the other hands with his aunt. "It's Bob, sure as fate. I was certain I'd find you here if you were still alive. Well, 20 years is a long time. The old one, Bob. I wish it had lasted so we could have had another dinner there. How has the weather treated you, old man?" Well, it had given me everything I asked it for. You have changed a lot, Jimmy. I never thought you were so tall by 2 or 3 inches. Oh, I grew a bit after I was 20. Doing well in New York, Jimmy? Moderately. I have a position in one of the city department. Come on, Bob. We'll go round to a place I know of, and have a good long talk about old times. The two men started up the street, arm in arm. The man from the west, his egotism enlarged by success, was beginning to outline the history of his career. The other, submerged in his overcoat, listened with interest. When they came into electric lights at the corner of a drugstore, each of them turned simultaneously to look the other face. The man from the west stopped suddenly and released his arm. You are not Jimmy well, he snapped. 20 years is a long time, but not long enough to change a man's nerves from a romance to a punk. It sometimes changes a good man into a bad one, said the tall man. You have been under arrest for 10 minutes, Shuki barked. Chicago think you may have dropped it over our way and why I still want to have a chat with you. Going quietly, are you? That's sensible. Now, before we go on the station, here's the note I would ask to hand you. You may read it here at the window. It's from Patrolman Wells. The man from the west unfolded the little piece of paper handed him. His hand was steady when he began to read, but it trembled a little by the time he had finished. The notes were quite short. Bob, I worked at the appointment place on time. When you struck the match to light your cigar, I saw it was the face of the man wanted in Chicago. Somehow I couldn't do it myself, so I went around and got a plainclothes man to do his job. Jimmy.